We've looked at developing a learning strategy and at organisational learning and the learning organisation. But what is the role of coaching in a learning and development strategy? Why is coaching increasingly being used in organisations? That's what we'll be thinking about in this session, the role of coaching in a learning and development strategy. The objectives of this session are that at the end of it, you'll be able to describe choices of learning interventions to meet strategic needs, explain the increase of coaching as a learning intervention, and evaluate 3 adult learning models and their contribution to the value of coaching. Here are some of the learning interventions that organisations may choose to use. There's formal classroom-based training, external conference events and workshops, action learning sets, job rotation, secondment or shadowing, mentoring and buddy systems, e-learning and coaching. This graph shows the net increases in growth of the different learning and development activities and is taken from the CIPD survey of 2004. And as you can see, the largest growth was in coaching, a 51% increase in growth. So why this increase in coaching? One of the main drivers is the movement in organisations from training to learning. Training being seen as a trainer imparting knowledge, skills and attitude to people. People being told how they should do things, as opposed to learning, which is seen as a more self-directed and opening up many more other interventions and ways of being able to learn. And particularly encouraging learning from experience. It's also recognised that we all learn in different ways and that formal training may not suit everyone. The movement to learning means that people can use the way of learning that best suits them. Next is the increase in the rate of change. We've talked about this before, but the rapid increase in change means that more flexible and adaptable ways of learning are needed so that people can also change to meet the needs of their external environment. Coaching is a learner-driven learning method, and so is able to easily meet the current needs of the employee and the environment. There's no need to plan content in advance or to wait months for the right course to be available. Another driver is the move from authoritarian to participative management style. Organisations are now looking for employees that can make business-savvy decisions and solve problems and come up with ideas rather than relying on managers to tell them what to do. Coaching is able to do this because of its generative learning nature. With each coaching session, a person is learning how to handle any situation better and better. And by its very nature, it helps people to learn to generate new and novel options to challenges that they face. Let's think a little bit more about coaching and its role in adult learning. We're going to look at 3 models of adult learning and their relationship to coaching. First, there is andragogy, then experiential learning, and finally transformative learning. Andragogy was originated by Alexander Kapp in 1883, but has been developed into a theory of adult learning by Malcolm Knowles. He concluded that for adults it was very important to know the purpose of the learning, why they were learning something. Secondly, he concluded that adults like to be in charge of their own development and should be involved in the planning and evaluation of the learning. He also acknowledges that adults have a wealth of experience and that any learning is best based on and uses their experience. Adults, he feels, learn best when what they are learning has an immediate effect on what they're currently doing, and so they are concerned with relevancy. That is, they are more interested in learning to solve a problem rather than learning content for the sake of learning. His theory also suggests that adults are more internally motivated than motivated by external factors. So in terms of meta-programs that we've come across, they are internally referenced rather than externally. So here's the exercise on andragogy. Write down how does Knowles' theory support the use of coaching? And then examine what are the common assumptions of adult learning that abound in your organisation. How do they compare with Knowles'? A highly cited model of learning is Kolb's experiential learning cycle. Kolb suggested that the way we learn from experience is firstly by having some sort of experience and then reflecting on it. Thinking about those things that went well, those that didn't go so well, etc. And from that thinking a new and different ways of approaching it, and then deciding on which way to do it next time, and experimenting and then doing it again, and so going round and round the circle. So that learning from experience can be a continuous process, trying something out, learning from it, creating new ideas, implementing them and experiencing that, and so on and so on. Here's an exercise on experiential learning. Write down what is the relevance of experiential learning cycle to coaching and to the role of coaching in a learning and development strategy. Transformative learning theory comes from the work of Jack Mezeroff. The basis of this theory is that to bring about profound and lasting change, then it's important to change deeply held beliefs that are not proving effective for the person. And so learning should challenge beliefs in order to bring about transformative change. And this will then be reflected in action. This learning is about changing their terms of reference, or the basis on which they have built their model of the world, by critically reflecting on their assumptions and beliefs and then redefining their model of the world. More about transformative learning can be found in Mezeroff J. 2000, Learning as Transformation, Critical Perspectives on a Theory in Progress. Here are some questions for you to think about transformative learning. Please write down your answers. Firstly, what types of organisational strategies may require transformative learning? To what extent should organisations provide transformative learning opportunities? And how does coaching facilitate transformative learning?